who are joining us in the room today, and also good morning to all of you who are joining us on Facebook Live and via Zoom. On behalf of Thai Union Group, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to our first analyst meeting of 2021 for quarter 4 2020 result presentation. So today we have we have showcasing two of our products. First of all is Select X After Yum. It's our exclusive brand collaboration between Thai Union and After Yum to co-develop Select Tuna in a special DIY type of After Yum flavor. Depending on the can size, you just need to add 1 to 3 limes, fresh herbs, and chili yourself, and suddenly you will have a scrumptious dish in 5 minutes. The second product we showcase to you today is OMG Meat. OMG Meat is our plant-based brand. We are actually the first plant-based seafood producer in Thailand. The menu that you have tasted this morning was crab meat with salsa, with mango salsa. We will have a new menu launch soon in more than 3 channels, such as Macro and Tesco in March. So if you do like our products, please do help support us and keep an eye on them. Now enough about food. Moving on to the result announcement. Executive joining us today is Mr. Tirapong Jansiri, our President and CEO. And as you know, that we have bid farewell to Mr. York Island last year. Please welcome our one of familiar faces, Mr. Ludovic Garnier, as our new group CFO. So, as usual, our analyst meeting is divided into 3 sessions. Q4 of 2020, key highlights and recent development, financial result, and the business outlook. Without further ado, allow me to invite Mr. Tirapong Jansiri to start the Q4 presentation results.
Good morning, analysts from the financial institutions and banks for joining us today. Today we're going to report on the results of quarter 4. I don't want to talk too much about the numbers. You can look at them on your own, but I'd just like to spend this time with you having a discussion with you, because in quarter 4, normally it's a quarter that is usually the weak quarter in the past 4 years. But this 4th quarter has been the best one compared to the many past years. Our gross margin is still at an 18% level compared to if we look at quarter 2 and quarter 3 and quarter 4. And our operating profit is at a good level, even though the SG&A was higher at 2.2%. And our net profit is also the best compared to many years before. This is one of the best 4th quarters we've had so far. Our full year results, we have a reported net profit that is the highest in so many years. The net profit for last year is perhaps the best ever. It's a new high record for us at 6.246 billion baht. We don't have to adjust anything to get this number. This is one of the best. And Red Lobster last year, we did incur a loss of about 1.1 billion Thai baht. But we had net profit if we don't include Red Lobster. This is for the first time. Aside from that, our 4th quarter is one where we build inventory. And of course, we may be seeing more debt. But the fourth quarter last year, at the end of last year, our net debt to equity had gone down to 0.94. On the next page, you'll see development for us in the 12 quarters past, and you can see that our revenue is about 33 to 34 billion baht, and our gross profit has picked up since the first quarter, and this is at 16.2% up to 18.2% and up to 18%. Looking at the numbers for our gross margin. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you about last year. All of us, or many people, say that COVID-19 has helped the company. That's what many people say. But in all actuality, COVID-19 was only part of the reason. It did help in terms of demand, and especially for ambient seafood and for pet care. But at the same time, our frozen food business was impacted as well. Our frozen food business, we do have a channel for sales, especially in Thailand, into food services, for hotels servicing tourists. And last year, our results improved overall is a result of everything that we've been doing for the past 3 years. If I go back to the past, I want to tell you, because you may have forgotten already, we have always tried to reduce our costs, reduce those things that are not performing in terms of business, to rid those from our organization. In the United States, if you remember, we closed our San Diego office, which was a very tough decision for us, but it was something necessary. And we consolidated our offices in LA and with Cozy Kosif and Pet Care together in one place. We merged 2 companies under one CEO, who is Brian, and we also were dealing with a share service in the United States. And if we look at Europe, we closed our Scotland factories for chilled salmon. We closed our chilled factory for Yugen fish in Germany, and we launched a spring program at the end of 2019 before COVID happened. So our operating profit for Europe was 75 million euros, and it went up to 125 million euros in 3 years' time, from 2021 to 2000. This is exceeding the plan that we have. And in Thailand, fish show, you don't see fish show in Thailand anymore. Fish show is abroad now. It's a product abroad. And this is a decision that was very tough for us. It was a brand that we had invested in for 20 years. And before COVID in 2019, we decided to stop fish show in Thailand. And we have distributors to help us reduce our costs. We reduced the number of people from 100 or so people down to 60 or 70 people. We closed our factory in Pak Panan. We invested in automation, robotics, IT. Since then, this was 3 years before COVID hit us. This is to improve our productivity and expenses. We issued PERT in 2019, not during COVID, to improve our gearing, to lower the gearing closer to 1 as much as possible. Since 2019, it came down to 1.1, if you remember, at that time. And this was before COVID. And when COVID hit, of course, we worked even harder. We reduced our costs. We didn't have to travel. We didn't have to invest in advertising. We reduced our capex, which was 4,000 or 4,900, coming down to 7 or so billion baht. and we saw our share prices come down during COVID, but we issued dividends. The issuance of dividends was increased by 29%. And this is what I want to share with you. It's not just COVID that helped us achieve good operating results, but it's a result of our organization always preparing and adjusting and meeting the requirements of the situation. And so I'd like to tell you that in 2016 to 2019 was the most difficult period for us. And I have never faced a situation like that. It was a situation where we faced many uncontrollable factors. The antitrust situation over the past 3 or 4 years, we ended up incurring $130 million. And this, of course, affected our results, making them worse than before. But our core business had always performed. Without the antitrust, if we were to exclude the antitrust, we would have had much better results. And Red Lobster is an accretive investment. We have profited from Red Lobster up until COVID-19. So COVID-19 has hit everyone, not just us, and we have been able to manage Red Lobster, I believe, at a very satisfactory level, and it is a chain that will continue on in the United States. And there are not many brands that are national brands. And today we hope that we can improve the situation there. And we believe that after COVID, restaurants in the U.S. will be able to increase sales by 30 to 40%. We have takeouts in our Golden Gate. The main shareholder went out, and we have a new partner, which is the Seafood Alliance, together with the management. And we're still holding shares of 49%. And this is what we've been doing. And we still have the ability to refinance, which shows that the financial institutions in the U.S. believe in Red Lobster. They believe in the brand of Red Lobster, and we refinance at about $300 million, but that is over now. That's all done. So the obstacles for Red Lobster for refinancing are done. So today, life after today is we have to focus on how are we going to revive the business and make it even better than before. COVID-19 has made people rethink everything. We never paid attention to delivery or off-premise services in Red Lobster. From lower than 10% of off-premise sales, we now have more than 20% accredited to off-premise sales. And this is something that we would never have thought of if it weren't for COVID-19. So this is actually a positive development from COVID-19. It's made management more easier. We've had a change in executives. Our CFO, unfortunately, is going to leave at the end of February here. Our HR leader is going to end, and this is because they're getting at that age when they need to leave, and we're going to welcome a new generation into lobster. We have new investors that we're looking at. So we're going to do everything we can to improve. We have been honored by Rit and Paul Kenny, who have joined us, who are experienced in restaurants, perhaps not in the U.S., but they do have experience in Asia, around the world, and they'll be able to manage the business. And they're going to give us their viewpoints to help us improve the overall business itself. And we believe that it will be better than before. So this is what I would like to share with you. And at the end, we'll continue to talk. So last year, we did well, right? And people are worried about next year. Are we going to be able to do better as well? I want to tell you that our new businesses, our ingredients, we're not just doing tuna oil in Germany, which we're going to restart. We're going to expand on our ingredients business. We have our protein hydrolysis. It's going to be done in 2021. We have a new company called Life Science for supplements. This is going to be B2C. and it's going to happen in this year. We have alternative protein. I believe that we're doing this more than any other business, and I know that people are excited about this business, but I promise you that we are selling more than others, or we will sell more than others, and this is something that I want you to watch out for. On the next page, let's take a look at the new normal and recovery of the business. What I want to point out to you is that COVID-19 is something that has proved that Thai Union is very flexible, has a high level of flexibility, and is rapid when in terms of response, is fast in terms of response. Our factories, even during the first wave of COVID-19 in China and in Asia and then in Europe, we set up a team, a crisis management team, to closely monitor every factory, and our results from last year are thanks to our close watch on our supply chain, making sure that we send our products into those markets with high demand. We only have one factory that was closed for 1 month. That was the one in Ghana, but outside of that, no other factory of ours had to close down. And in the second wave of COVID, last year, I thought I would be able to go and travel in December, but then we had the second wave of COVID right in Samut Sakhon, right at our doorstep. And this was, of course, a very trying time, exciting time, because it was right in our home base, and this is the biggest production base for us in Samut Sakhon. And what we did was we stopped movement within our organization, not allowing people to travel. People in Samut Sakhon had to stay in Samut Sakhon. We did not allow movement of employees. But what's helped us all along is that our factory, our production process is one that is internationally recognized and meets international standards in terms of food safety. And we've worn masks for over 40 years. Everyone has worn gloves and uniforms. This has been part of our procedure forever, even before COVID. And we have alcohol-based gels and alcohol provided that everyone has to use to clean their hands every hour. We have social distancing measures where we ensure physical distancing. Our factories have no problems in terms of food safety at all. Our factories are those ones that have the largest number of employees in Samut Sakhon. And during COVID-19 in December, we decided to inspect on our own when the government was still deciding what to do. And the Ministry of Public Health wasn't even able to take action just yet. But we went ahead and we did rapid tests over 100 employees, and only 2% were positive. And after that, when the Ministry of Public Health and government got up on their feet and were able to take action, in January we did PCR tests 100% in every factory in Samut Sakhon. And from the PCR test, our employees are very strong, and only 2% had symptoms and were positive. And so when we had positive cases, we're a company, we have a factory quarantine. We're ready to take care of 2,000 people. After 10 days, our employees were quarantined and would come back. And right now we have 100% of our employees working with us. So the 2 to 3 weeks, we compensated our employees when they had to take off. And we're going to have a third wave of inspections. We're waiting to see how we're going to inspect and monitor. We believe that the number of positive cases will be so low that we won't have to worry. And in terms of production, you don't have to worry. We have factories in the U.S. Our capacity is more than sufficient. In Seychelles, if there are positive cases, it's not an issue because they can close the island, but they have vaccinations already. And in Portugal, there are some positive cases. There are clustering issues, but there is no need to close the factory down. In Poland, also no problems, so there's no need to worry. COVID-19, we are an expert in terms of dealing with COVID-19. And this is what we've experienced so far. You know, so we don't need to talk about antitrust anymore from this moment on. And in this year, we're also looking at refinancing our bonds, about 6 to 7 billion. We're going to check the market, the financial market. The term loan at this time from our financial institutions have a cost that is lower than that of bonds, and this is the first time that we have issued a 5-year term loan of 12 billion baht. And we're going to have 2 tranches. One tranche will be in Thailand, in Thai baht. That'll be 6.5 billion Thai baht, and that is 1.6 times oversubscribed. In terms of Japan, this is the first time that we've secured a loan from Japan. And this time is the first time that in Japan it was so competitive. So many people were so interested. There were more than 50 banks. And in the end, the loan was provided by over 40 banks. And this is a sustainability-linked one. We have 3 to 4 KPIs, including DTSI. We have to lower our GHG emissions. We have to install electronic monitoring for our tuna fishing vessels. And to be able to achieve each of these KPIs, we needed to lower the basis points, but the interest is quite low for this loan. And this is something that we're the first company, I believe, that is be able to do this, a sustainability-linked loan. And I believe that this is why we will see sustainability-linked term loans here in Thailand more and more. And we'll see them linked to bonds as well. We have been contacted or approached by other Japanese banks as well. And on the next page, last year, COVID-19 made us unable to travel. So because we didn't have to travel, we had more time to do other things. We changed our mindset in the past year. From now on, we don't need to chase volume. We don't need to chase market share. We need to focus on top-line quality. And today, we don't need to do more for less. We need to do less for more. We need to collaborate. We don't need to do 100% M&A. We're going to do more joint ventures instead. And the area of investment for us is going to be a newer area. It'll be an area where we're not 100% expert. So we need to find partners who are strong in various areas to enhance our ability. And I believe, I think others like me have found that I found this so much fun, and even my subordinates are quite surprised that I'm excited. We have meals, and I want all of our executives in Thai Union to see and understand that the world has changed from what we knew before. It may not be useful to us anymore. I've invited Interpharma. Their sales have not reached 500 million yet, but I think that it's time for us to talk to an organization like this. This is something that can help us with, for instance, the supplement business, and this is a product that comes from our, for instance, we have tuna oil, we have calcium from tuna, we have collagen. These are all possible products or products that we are doing. Our supplement is called Z-Vita, and the product is going to be called Interpharma by Z-Vita. And this is for hospitals mainly, because Interpharma is very strong in this channel, and this is something we're going to start. The second thing that everyone sees, you probably know, is that we have our merger with Thai Bev, and this is in terms of functional nutrition drinks, and this is one thing that we want to see expertise in. This is not just a joint venture. We have Thai Union has 49%. We don't need to be the majority investor because there are no problems. So we're holding 49% in these investments, and from now on, you're going to see many more joint ventures in different combinations. And for plant-based protein, the plant-based protein, we have different restaurants, and you can see that our exports in terms of plant-based protein are going to increase. We don't need to be, it doesn't have to be our brand. We are happy to be an OEM, the best OEM plant-based provider for plant-based providers that are interested. We're going to collaborate with plant-based meat in Asia. And this is something that we are already moving forward in. And there's also after Yum. This is a new dimension altogether, where we are collaborating with SMEs. We were working with Bayam to begin with to provide chili paste, and we thought about how we could make tuna, expand the tuna market, the demand for tuna in the market here in Thailand. And so we chased after the first person who was able to do the yum, which is the mixing, special Thai method of mixing. And so we've collaborated with the organization known as After Yum, and this is something that is going to increase demand for tuna in a new way. And the market share for Select is at 58% now. And so this is we're far ahead of the number 2 tuna provider here in Thailand. But we want more than market share. We want our consumption of tuna to increase in Thailand. And our startups, we have 4 companies that we've invested in. The $30 million that we set up, we have invested almost 10 million. And we have Fine Spark, alternative protein that comes from insects. We have a company in Singapore that is producing dough for diabetic use. We have aquamarine farming investments. And we're looking at alternative protein as well. Luna Lu is another example. This is an alternative protein from cell-based procedures. Blue Nalu is producing seafood in San Diego. Another company we're going to invest in soon for cell-based protein is CVC. This has to do with startups, so we're able to invest in a wider range of businesses. So of course our risk is higher, but we're not investing that much in each. And this is for us to take the time to learn the market, learn about the technology from these experts. And it's a new method for us, a new way for us, a new strategy. And this is going to support the ecosystem for food tech in Thailand as well. Our awards and recognitions. The Dow Jones Sustainability Index for us, we came down to number 2 globally. We lost out to a company in Portugal or Italy by 1 point, but this is something that we need to work on to improve. But our overall points did go up even though we're at number 2. Every year our company has to improve. This is something that we have to continue to do. We also received a gold class distinction from S&P Global Sustainability Yearbook 2021. And we were included in the Thailand Sustainability Investment, or THSI 2020, by the Stock Exchange of Thailand. As for our net profit, we announced that we had a 40 satang dividend for the second half of 2020, and for the full year it was 72 satang in total for dividends. And I'm going to pass the microphone off to.
Thanks a lot, Khun Chirapong. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy and pleased to be with you this morning. I will try to be quick on the financials because this is already the past. The numbers you will see are very straightforward. And I want to insist on our views on 21 and also on the strategy to 25. So I will be very quick on this one. Tuna price, they remain in the expected range. There were no surprise. Sales growth, you could see this one. We have another growth, reported growth in Q4 2020 by almost 2%, mostly coming from the ambient and pet care. If you exclude the effects, we are declining by almost 1%, mostly coming from the frozen, and I will get back to this one. But I want you to keep in mind that over the full year, we are close to 5% growth for the revenue and 3.8 if you exclude the effects. I think this is for you a very interesting picture. Our traditional one, you can see here on the left, you can see all the ambient segments which are growing, and then you can see here the challenges we are facing in the frozen business, mostly in the shrimp, and then you can see the pet care also improving very strongly. Okay, one of the chain that we have in Q4, you can see we have a very large positive euro FX impact and really helping us and explaining the FX impact in Q4. Very quickly on this one, the breakdown by geography, there is no big change. US and Europe are increasing in Q4, and I will get back to this one after. Gross profit margin, this is really one of the key achievements that we have this year. If you remember a few years ago, we told you we want to work on this one, we want to really improve. We were at 14% a few years back, and now we are since 3 quarters in a row at 18%, okay? That was a bit unexpected 3 years back. Overall, over the whole year, we are at 17.7, really improving versus last year at 16%, okay? So very happy about this one. Again, the key drivers are the ambient and the pet care. I will get back to this on the in the segment view. OP is very robust and very healthy. A bit unusual for us in Q4 to have 1.9 billion baht OP. Over the whole year, we achieved 7.8. And if you compare to last year, if you exclude the antitrust, we are improving by 39%. If you include the antitrust, we're almost doubling versus last year. So this is really a great performance for us. This is record high in terms of OP and in Thai Union history. EBITDA, of course, record high coming from the very strong OP. We are on the full year almost at 13 billion baht, okay? The best performance ever for Thai Union, and we are very happy with this one. Net profit, this is the first time that we overachieve 6 billion baht for a full year number. So we had 6,246 for the full year 2020, compared last year to reported numbers of 3.8 billion baht and adjusted numbers of 5.2. Okay, so very happy about such a development. We have one-off to mention to you over this quarter, which is related to our business in Russia, where we are facing with some challenges. Just a quick note on this one, we acquired this business in 2018. Initially, we started with 45% of the business. We took over 90% of the business in 2020. We have been facing with some challenges here. We have been doing some restructuring. We closed the frozen business. We changed the management. And considering all these uncertainties, we decided to record a 4 million euro fair value adjustment in Q4. And I think this is for you the only significant one-off to be mentioned in Q4. EPS, I go very quick on this one, but it grows accordingly with the net income. Keep in mind we have some PERP, which are still there and making a small difference compared to the net profit difference. Quick focus on Red Lobster. And you know that Q4 is traditionally the very heavy loss for them. And in 2020, we have roughly the same situation. So they generated a share of loss of 321 million share of loss in 2020 to be compared to 243. So we are deteriorating compared to last year. It's not a surprise, of course. You know, we have been facing in Q4 with an increase of the COVID-19 cases in the US. And I think at the end of Q3, we told you that the company was operating almost 95% of the dining halls. There were some more restrictions happening in Q4. So at the end of Q4, they're operating 78% of the dining hall and 99% of the off-premise business. As Kuntirapong mentioned, we put a lot of efforts on developing the off-premise business and really did great here on this part. There are some good signs coming from Red Lobster. The first one, and Kuntirapong mentioned this one, is the refinancing. So I will not elaborate on this one, but we are very happy on this one. Just for you to keep in mind, there is no additional commitment, no additional guarantee, or no additional loan coming from Thai Union. So our exposure is not increasing towards Thai Unions. On the flip side, you can see the vaccine campaign is increasing a lot in the US. I think 60 million doses were provided to the people. We do expect some turnaround coming in the next months. In this one, there were some massive changes happening in Red Lobster regarding the menu. If you remember, at the beginning of the year, they were starting from a menu around 30 to 40 pages. They moved down to 2-3 pages, a very simple menu during the peak of the COVID-19. Now they are moving to some new meals. They are being investing a lot also in the touchless experience for the customers. They will really do good, and we strongly believe that we are in the right track. Of course, Red Lobster, like the whole restaurant industry in the US, is still facing some very significant challenges. Okay, and the situation will remain the next month, but we do expect a clear turnaround for 21. So we don't expect to have the same share of loss in 21 for Red Lobster. Cash flow, another very strong performance, 10.4 billion baht for the whole year and 1.2. Honestly, I was positively surprised with the positive cash flow in Q4. If you remember at the end of Q3, we told you Q2 and Q3 are so great that we expect some negative to happen in Q4. We managed and it was positive, so very happy about this one. Net debt, just as a consequence, we managed to deleverage our net debt by 3 billion baht in 2020. Very strong EBITDA. CapEx we reduced. Normally we spend between 4 to 5, and here we were at 3.7. There was a very strong cash protection plan which was implemented in beginning of 2020 when we faced the first signs of the COVID-19. Apart from that, everything is as usual, except maybe 1.5 billion baht that we did invest in the purchase of some treasury shares. We did some communication on this one already in Q3. No big change on this one. The ratio are on track, so I go very quick on this one. On the raw material price, tuna, I already mentioned this one. On the salmon price, we are at record low in Q4. So this is helpful for our business, of course. Clearly, we don't expect this to continue. In 2021, we do expect some kind of inflation for the salmon, but we were lucky in Q4 2020. Shrimp price, there are some small ups and downs, but overall the situation is quite stable. On the currency, Q4 we really see some changes. Euro, especially, and GBP are really increasing versus Thai baht. And this is one of the key change for you. Just a quick focus on the view by segment. The ambient, we are regrowing by 9% in Q4, explained by the volume impact. The gross profit margin are very positive. Just maybe to explain a quick word on this one, we did postpone in Q2 some promotion that usually we were doing in Europe and in the US. Why? Because our sales in Q1 were very strong. And in Q2, we had to postpone some of the activities to Q4. And that's why it's a bit unusual for us. We have much more promotions than usual in Q4 coming from the US and Europe. And this is one of the key drivers for the sales. Frozen, and Kuntirapong mentioned this one, we are still facing with some challenges. If you remember in Q3, Frozen was recovering compared to 1 year before. This is not the same situation in Q4. We are declining, mostly coming from our business in the US. Their Q4 2019 was very strong. Plus, we also faced with some logistic issues in Q4 2020 in Thailand and also in the US. I'm sure you have heard about the port congestions and also the container availability issue. However, one good sign for us, look at the gross profit margin. We are back to where we were before COVID-19. In Q1 and Q2, it was really challenging. Now we recovered from a gross profit margin. So we need now to fix the top line. Pet care, one of the key success, very strong top line, record high gross profit margin. Here we can clearly see the impact coming from our investment and our move to more value-added products. Very clearly on this one, over the whole year, the gross profit margin is at 27%. Sales, you will see some push from the US and Europe. Look at the US increased by 8%. We have a small FX impact, but even if you exclude this one, this is 7%, so very good. Europe, and this is the one I was mentioning, our sales from Europe are increasing by 21% in Q4. We have a strong FX impact, but even if you exclude this FX impact, the sales are really strong. Thailand, on the flip side, is declining by almost 20%. Both the frozen and the ambient business are declining in Q4. Emerging markets, we have also some decline, but we have usually some ups and downs. Sorry to be quick on this one, but I wanted to move to the forward-looking. Do you want to mention this one?
Yeah. In 2021, I believe that COVID-19 will still be with us, with the whole world, for a while. I don't want to say that it's going to be with us the whole year. It may be with us for part of the year. And I believe that post-COVID, the economy of the world, the global economy overall, will be weak. But I believe that demand for our products, especially tuna, which is quite inexpensive, is a product that will continue to be favored by consumers around the world. And the newer behavior from consumers who are now staying at home more, cooking at home more, this is something that will be beneficial for our business. Delivery online will be a trend for the world from now on, for a while, I believe. And regardless of this, in 2021, we're going to try to maintain a conservative stance. We're not going to try to look at too much growth. We want to have quality growth, if there is growth at all. And our guidance for 2021 for sales is about 3 to 5% for the top line. Our gross profit margin, we're looking for 17% or more. For SG&A, we're looking at 11 to 12%. And these are the expenses that we're going to keep an eye on, because in marketing, we will need to have more activities compared to last year. And as for the effective interest rate, there will be no material change. We will be looking at a reduction more than an increase compared to 2020. As for CapEx, from last year it was 3.7 billion baht. We slowed down our investments, so this is the year that we're going to start investing again. So we're going to be looking at about 6 to 6.5 billion baht in terms of investments. And we have projects that are usually 4 billion baht or so, but we're looking at a factory for ready-made foods in Thailand. protein hydrolysis, and our peptides investments will also be built this year, requiring, again, millions in investment. And cold storage in Ghana, we want to prepare our factory in Ghana, so we may need to invest about 300 or so million. So this is an overview of our investments for next year. Looking forward, many people asked, I believe that from this point on, this is an opportunity for Thai Union. The interest in Thai Union, in terms of the core business, we're not focusing on acquisitions or brand anymore, because I think we have enough of that. We're going to focus more on continuous investment in automation, robotics, much more than before, productivity improvement, and so that we can lower our costs more and more. This is what we're going to look at in terms of the core. Investment in newer businesses will be businesses that offer higher margins. It could be pet care, ingredients, or feed, supplements, medical food, and alternative protein, which I believe this is more than enough in terms of investment. And we're going to focus on these various areas. So this is what I'd like to share with you. And I believe that business after COVID, for the most part, will be weak for a year or two. And the picture will become clearer towards the end of 2021, leading into 2022. I believe this will be our opportunity to have a strong financial standing and to be ready to invest. And I believe there will be many more opportunities for investment in the future. So this is what we're looking at. But we're not in any rush. I think we can wait. We're going to accumulate funds first. And we want to be able to provide our dividends to our shareholders. We'd like to buy shares back. We'd like to buy shares back more and more. And Ludwig's going to share with you our strategy 5 years from now.
Thanks, Kontirapong. So here this year, we wanted to share with you, on top of the 2021 guidance, our views on what can we expect for our path to 2025. And you know we have been communicating a lot already on the healthy living and the healthy oceans. This is clearly the direction where we want to go. And here each word is very important: healthy living and also healthy oceans on this one. In terms of financials, the KPI for us and the target would be to achieve by 2025 an EBITDA in a range of $450 to $550 million. So this is our target, and we have 4 pillars on this one. We have the core business, we have the new businesses we want to invest on, we want to continue to invest on sustainability, and then we have our strategic investments. And I will elaborate on each of them. So the first one is the core business. So what we call our core business here is the ambient and the frozen business. You know that these market, these categories, even they delivered some very strong performance in 2020. They are overall some quite mature business. So here our target is to achieve an organic growth of roughly 3% per year in this core business. As Kontirapong mentioned, we want to invest strongly in the productivity savings. And over the next 5 years, we will invest $200 to $300 million in order to improve our conversion costs. And we have some very specific target on this one. This is a combination of CapEx, OpEx, and different spending. In terms of revenue, we maintain our 2025 target of 10% of revenue coming from innovation, with margin gross profit higher than 20%. And the last one, you know that we have been started a specific programs already 2 years ago, where we focus on the loss-making businesses, and we are ready to divest them or to turn them around. And you could see already in the past year some example of this new strategy. Now moving to the new businesses. So what do we call the new value enhancing businesses? It's a combination of different businesses. So it's a combination of pet care, feed, where we are already quite strong, and in these two segments we want to overachieve compared to the GDP growth. Okay. We have also the ingredients and the culinary business we want to scale up. Okay. So we have very different businesses here. The size is growing. Some of them are already very significant, but we want to grow them more because for us, they look like very promising. We will invest $500 million over the next 5 years in these businesses. Again, the 500, it's a combination of different things, CapEx, R&D, and also CapEx, and also OpEx, sorry. We want to have a look on the M&A. Kuntirapong mentioned this one. We are interested in performing some M&A in very strategic, very selective, and very accretive businesses. And our target and our goal is to have, by 2025, all these new businesses contributing by more than one third of our EBITDA. Sustainability, this is also one of the key pillars of Thai Union since many years already, and we will continue to invest in this direction. You've heard about the Sea Change Sustainability Program. We want to reinforce this one. We want to communicate more, and we really want to act as a leader for the whole industry and to show them a direction to go to a more sustainable business. Sustainable packaging is also something we are working on. We will move to a commitment for 2025. We have many discussions on this one, and we will need to elaborate on this one. The sourcing and our operation also is for us one of the key focus. We want to bring a very strong corporate governance here and really to reinforce all these in our operations. The last point, we mentioned this one already. I think this is one of the key success for 2020, the sustainability-linked financing. Honestly, I was very surprised with the success we face. So it give us a lot of ideas. We want to continue in this direction, and we want to have much more going in this one. I think it's really good for us. I think it's also for us one of the first time that we can really evidence some savings coming from our sustainability efforts. So we are really going in the right direction here. The last one, strategic partners. Avanti, of course, we mentioned this one. We will continue with them. Red Lobster, we are really determined to turn around the business and to really improve the operations here. And the last one, Kuntirapong mentioned, we are really open to having some new partnership. We already did 2 of them over this quarter. We will also continue in this direction because we believe we can really have some great successes in this direction. And now, Pom, back to you.
Now allow me to open the floor for the questions. Please raise your hand and state your name and your organization, and our staff will hand you the microphone. For those of you who follow us on Facebook Live and Zoom, please also type up your questions and we will raise the question to the executive to answer.
Hello. I'd like to ask about the sales, the 3 to 5% target. Is this in baht or dollars? It's in baht. And for Thai feed mill, when is that going to be in the market? Within this year, I believe. We're filing it now. What about the new businesses that you talked about, whether it's ingredients and all the other businesses this year? What sales are we going to look at for this year? Do you have numbers for us? For the ingredient business in the plan, 3 years from now, we're looking at sales of around $170 to $200 million for the ingredient business. For supplements, it'll be launched in about month 8 of the year, and we're looking at profit of about revenue of about, in the first 3 years, 500 million baht for supplements. Thai Union Life Science. Within these 3 years, we'll be looking at 500 million baht the same as Interpharma. And what about the other businesses? Plant-based, for instance. Plant-based, this is something that we're exporting, so the revenue will be achieving 100 million will not be hard because it's exported. But today, the factory that's producing this is in our canned tuna one, so we have two separate lines. So our numbers will be embedded in the business, in the company that produces our canned tuna, but in the future we will be separating those numbers. This year we started already, and we did export. It wasn't a lot yet. This is it's been exported to Tesco in the UK. These are products that we're trying. The new products that we're trying out, we export abroad first. And one more question, please. In terms of Red Lobster, this year, I don't know if I understand it correctly or not, this year is turned around. But do you think it's going to become profit-based? For 2021, our budget, we expect a deficit, but it'll be lower by 50%. We don't expect to have profit just yet. We're looking 3 years ahead. America, and right now, they are facing a major COVID-19 problem, and COVID-19 is going to stay with us for this year, at least more than half a year, even though vaccines are being administered, but the speed of inoculation in general, it's not that fast. It will take time. And one last question. The factory for ready-made foods, why are you expanding? What products are you making? Oh, this is consolidating our factories. We have 4 factories in packed food, TUF. 2 factories, actually, for packed food. We have at Japaya and Asia Pacific and TU. These are our old factories that have not been renovated for a while, so we're going to consolidate them and build a new factory which is more automated, higher quality, that is ready to meet the needs of international organizations, because we want to sell to international organizations, so we need a factory that has high standard. All of those factories that we already have are going to be consolidated here in this one facility. Does that mean that your operations in the old factories, you'll be freeing up the space in those factories, right? Yes, that's correct. And so in volume-wise in the business, if we talk about the core business, are you looking at opportunities in certain businesses? I don't understand the question. You're freeing up space in new factories. This is upgrading our facilities, more or less. Because right now it's in small factories, 3 or 4 small factories. We're consolidating them, bringing them together, and this is going to give us the opportunity to sell to organizations like McDonald's worldwide, KFC worldwide. We're looking at an international expansion. And our factory, the old factories, they don't meet the standard. And we want to lower our labor force as well. From 2,000 people in the new facility, we want about 500 laborers. This is the trend. And for BOI, it's in Mahachai. This is where the factory is going to be. Are you getting more BOI incentives? Yes, I believe we are. And I'd like to ask one more question. Someone asked me to ask you about, do you have a positive outlook for the IPO? TU today, if we consolidate, it seems that it's going to be discounted. But we want to spin off businesses that have higher margin and high potential for growth so that they can be in the market. And this is a choice for the market who may want to invest in this business directly because there are programs to produce in Indonesia or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, and they will be more fluid. They'll have more flexibility. TU, the main TU is not going to change, or we still have 51%. If the market is still like it is today, you may see us carve out those businesses and increase our IPOs, because if they continue to stay with TU, they may have no future. If that is the case, then in terms of new businesses, whether it's plant-based or supplements, is there a chance for there to be spin-offs into newer companies? Well, you can see that today, every company under our umbrella are positioned, they are ready. The ingredient business, for instance, is Thai Union Ingredients. Supplement is our standalone organization, Thai Union Life Science, a standalone business. Pet care is also a standalone. So I believe that we are ready, we're poised to make a move. And the market favors small cap organizations. So we want to provide that choice for the market. And so could you quantify the numbers for us for the businesses that you mentioned? How much money are we looking at? And what is the gross margin for these businesses? Today, my viewpoint has changed. In the past, I was in the first generation of the stock market, so the scale was most important. But today, businesses in the company, there are companies that are 500 million businesses that are well received in the market. So $1 billion baht is even better. Have an easier time, whether it's in the ingredient or the pet care business. Pet care might be too big. It's actually 12 billion baht. So our viewpoint is changing. Small is beautiful, isn't it? Big isn't so great anymore. You should spin off pet care into the market, shouldn't you? Spin off everything. Do you all agree? If you give us the numbers, of course, we'd like to see this. Investors would like to see this. And I'd like to ask something else about Red Lobster. Could you tell us about quarter one? How is it so far compared to quarter 3 and 4? Is the situation different in terms of the guest count, the branches that are being opened? The worst time was in quarter 1 last year when the restaurant was closed. In the first wave, 88% of the restaurants were closed. And whenever restaurants come back, we can see that in the 3rd and 4th quarter of last year, EBITDA was positive, cash was positive, and in this business, cash moves fast. Restaurants in Thailand are the same. So whenever restaurants open, and if they can operate, off-premises we're doing as well. So cash is not an issue. Right now, which is the best time, this quarter, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th months are the best for the business. It's for during the Valentine's holiday. This is the best time for the business. It's getting better. Okay, and this is why we're looking at a loss that is 50% lower. So the lockdown that they faced is done and they're allowing restaurants to reopen, this is what's going to happen in the future. Could you talk about the trends of tuna, please? The prices of tuna? Tuna prices last year were lower, and right now they're also low. We don't know why. COVID-19 has provided even despite COVID-19, tuna, the gathering of tuna has no issues. So the highest about 1,500. That's the highest price.
For the full year, we are having some inflation compared to 2020. So the level of 1,200 will continue for the next year, the next quarters. So we plan for some inflation happening in the next months.
Right now, it's about a little over 1,200 something, which is low. And we have fish lasting up until the 4th month, so we're not really worried about anything. There's a lot of fish available, so don't worry that it's going to suddenly disappear, that the supply will disappear. Our exposure in hams. Today we're collaborating with every company, and we're looking at hemp to see what can be done with it. It's like alternative protein, isn't it? And we're collaborating. We're not looking at planting hemp. But we're looking to apply technology, learning about technology from our partners so that we can apply it to our different products. Do you think we'll be seeing hemp soon? Well, we might have a JV with like the ones with Interfarmer or Thai Bev. Whoever is talented in a certain area, we approach those organizations.
Hi. Yeah, I have about 2 main questions. The first one is regarding the revenue target for this year. Around which segment do you think will be driving this revenue growth, and what segment do you think will be like not as good or will be like dragging you down? And my second question is about interest-bearing debt. I see that you have replaced like about 6 to 7,000 million, like 6 billion in bonds with the 12 billion sustainability loan. So like what kind of level of interest-bearing debt do you see Thai Union will have in 2021?
So on the first question for 2021, we expect some kind of normalization. For the ambient and pet care, we don't expect to replicate in 21 the same performance that we did in 2020. Okay, we are very strong over the full year for these 2 categories, so we expect them to still continue to grow in 21, but however to a lower range. But we do expect our frozen category to get back to growth in 2021. So the key driver that we will have kind of a change of a mix. The ambient and pet care will still grow, however, to a lower extent compared to 2020, and the frozen will recover. Due to this, of course, there will be some impact, some mechanical impact in our gross profit, and that's why you could see we achieved 17.7 in 2020. We are targeting for 20% for the full year in 21. So you will see a bit of change on this one. Now, regarding your question on the financing bond and sustainability link, so we don't communicate on the margins. Maybe just to give you an idea, if you because here it's a combination of yen, USD, and Thai baht, and also variable rate. If you convert that in a fixed interest rate in Thai baht, this is between 2.20 to 2.40% interest rate. So it's quite low, and we are quite happy with the pricing. You can discuss. We have many banks here who have been working with us on this.
No, I don't mean about the interest rate. I mean like the total amount of debt you guys will probably hold in 2021. Like, where do you expect it to be?
So here we did already 12 billion baht, which is for us a very significant portion. If you look at the maturity of our debt, we have another portion coming very soon in end of 21. We did not discuss that about this one. I think we should continue this direction. I think for us, this is clearly the good path. And if you look at the portion to be achieved, to be refinanced in 21, we can go also in this direction. We have different options to make it very clear. So this is one of the options on the table to continue in this direction. We will see on this one.
So am I correct to understand that you don't plan to like materially increase the amount of debt, like from like the start of the year to the end of the year?
No. That's not the
That's
plan.
correct.
I think it's going to be lower, not higher.
The plan is to deleverage, to continue to deleverage, unless we have a significant opportunity for us. But right now we don't. Okay, but we want to continue in this direction.
Around how soon do you see like your sustainability loans to increase your like interest rates? Like how soon do you think? Like 2-3 years?
So here you could see the rate we achieved for the sustainability link were very positive. Of course, we have some KPI on this one to be met and committed. They will be checked by some third party on this one, and we will have a decrease on this one. Is it going to be sustainable? Is it going to be really large or not? This we don't know yet. But I think the direction is very good because here we materialize really some savings in our financials coming from our sustainability program.
I think the low interest will remain at least the next 2 years. I think you will see it's a global rate, right? So that's what we see. There's so much liquidity in the market.
And I think we could see it in Q4. The oversubscription was very high in Thailand and also in Japan. I was positively very surprised on this one. We have really a lot of liquidity available. Many people are interested in these bonds and in this kind of financing.
Until we see more and more investment, okay, forget the capital market. The real sector, we don't see a lot of investment so far globally.
Right. Just one last question. I understand that you think tuna price will inflate in the coming months, but from what I understand, when the tuna price is quite low in the short term, you tend to have like a pressure on your margin for your ambient sales. Do you think you will see that in the first quarter?
I think this is our day-to-day job to do exactly this, to manage the fish price and then to manage the price expectation. If you compare to Q4 19, we were starting from an even lower rate. So as long as it remains between $300 to $700, I think we can manage. I think the way it moves also and the quickness, if it is very violent, then we have some difficulty to manage. If it is a smooth change, we can manage on this one, okay? This is our day-to-day operation, and this is what we are good at.
I think the fish price will be depending on the catching. Demand is stable now. So unless the catching is really poor, otherwise it should not be too high.
Got it. Thank you.
This is Maria from Maybank. I have 3 questions. One is that out of the US, we are getting a conflicting scenario on the economic direction. Very clearly, the capital markets doing very well, but there's also the other side, which is the expectation of difficulties for the normal population. So my question is, what is the adverse scenario for Red Lobster? My second question is the investment in Russia. It's been a struggle for since the beginning, literally, and you are taking higher position in that one. What is the thinking and what is the expectation in terms of positive contribution? The last one is the Ninja Samurai bond of the SLL. Is that going to be hedged or you will leave it open in terms of currency exposure?
Okay, I go to the easy one. Number 3, it's fully hedged, 100%. Currency, 100%. So there is no forex exposure for this loan. Number 2, Russia business, you are right. The business was not performing, okay? And the reason we increased the stake from 45 to 90 is to take out the partner. And now we are in full control. Having said that, it's the same trend. If it doesn't perform, we'll get rid of it And I think we're going to give them 12 to 18 months max. And the size of the business is very small. But this has been very consistent. Any non-performing business that you see, either they turn around or either they're out. It's very clear. No one.
I take the one on Red Lobster. So here on Red Lobster, I think you have few KPI to have in mind. The numbers of restaurants which are open for dining hall is very important. So this is one of them, and you could see here in Q4 a bit of decline. But you need to keep in mind that also we have some restrictions in these restaurants, and right now they can operate at 50% of their capacity. So you were talking about the scenario for Red Lobster. What will be very important for us would be how are they moving on these restrictions side, and this will have some impact, of course, on the offer and the capacity we can offer in our Red Lobster restaurants. Another one also will be the success of our internet. We have been really growing a lot in the digital activities. You can really have now a complete touchless experience within Red Lobster, and we have many people being really interested by these kind of things. The macroeconomics also in the US would be very important. I'm sure you have heard about the plan from Joe Biden, which is very large in terms of amount. There would be some positive and negative impact for us. Positive impact because apparently from what we have read in the press, he wants to help more on the financial side, meaning there will be more people who will be able to go to our restaurants. On the flip side also, providing some support could create some issues in recruiting some people and some staff for our restaurants. So depending on all of this, right now we don't see exactly where do we go. The direction I think is a good one. We are improving. We need to see how quick all these measures announced by Biden will come, if they will come exactly as what they were released in the press. But overall, we believe we are in the good shape for Red Lobster.
Thank you.
And from Asia Plus, I have 3 questions. The first one is about Thai Union Feed Mill. Are you going to give the right to reserve shares to Thai Union shareholders? The second question is COVID-19 situation in Samut Sakhon. How many people have tested positive, and what is the utilization rate compared to before COVID-19? And the third question, the gross margin this year is 17%. Is this on the assumption of the Thai exchange rate of how much? The first question, our feed mill. We have not thought about giving rights to our TU shareholders at this moment in time. Not right now. The second question is that we said we sold our shares because this was a condition that was agreed upon. We have to maintain our post at a certain percentage, and so our minority shareholders have to sell to us so that we can. So post IPO, we must still maintain 51%. Do you understand? Right now it's a little over 60%. This is to provide structuring for our post-IPO so that we do have 51% post-IPO. That is our key condition, because if we do not buy more shares in the beginning so that we have more, then post-IPO we will have less than 51%, and that is not our goal. That is not our target or objective. I can't hear the question. And in terms of COVID-19, we have over 1,000 positive cases, and our factory quarantine is in place. So all of our employees have returned to work. Production is back to normal. We were only affected for about 4 weeks. And as for the margin of 17%, we have to look at every scenario. They're all combined, whether it's the normalizing demand, or in terms of COVID-19, or in terms of foreign exchange. Everything is included because all of these things can change, can be volatile. I'd like to ask about the gross margin of 17% for just now that you talked about. If we compare it to segmentation, if we look at segmentation in 2020, for ambient you have 21% and gross margin of 10% for your other business. Will the ambient business reduce, but in terms of frozen it'll increase? We're looking at the overall picture, right? Post-COVID, if everything returns to normal, there's more competition in the market, the margin will normalize perhaps. But if COVID-19, after COVID-19, we're looking at restaurants opening, frozen business will get better, the margin for frozen businesses will be compensated. We're looking at, we have a conservative outlook. So I don't have a clear answer for you. There is no clear answer.
Any more questions?
So we have a question coming in from online. The first one is, has TU operations been impacted by the current freezing weather in Alabama and Louisiana, known as the polar vortex? Are there any impacts from the widespread disruption in transport and electricity?
Maybe I can take this one. And sorry, yesterday we were not sure to fully get the question, so we did not answer. And we checked during the night with our US operation. There was very minimum impact for our operations, both for the factory. There were some shipments which were a bit delayed in the US, but we don't expect significant impact on this one. These shipments will be delivered anyway in March. So no significant impact to be expected from this situation in the US.
I think if there is no electricity, they eat more canned tuna. We don't need refrigerator, right? I think it's clear. It will impact frozen food, right?
Correct.
So that's simple. People have to eat, right? Without electricity, still eat. Right?
Any more questions, Lina?
I think our business doing very well during crisis. Okay? You remember hurricane, flooding, whatever. We sell very well during those crises. So.
Another question. TU targets sales growth of 3 to 5% year on year. What is Thai Union's assumption on Thai baht to the US dollar in 2021? And could you please elaborate the impact on the earnings from every strong Thai baht to US dollar? Thank you.
So our assumption for the Thai baht versus USD is 31 Thai baht for $1 for 2021. And then the other question regarding what is the impact of the strong Thai baht. Usually what we say is for every one difference for Thai baht for USD, it's a 1% translation impact in our sales, okay? Because roughly our sales in the US, they represent something like 1/3 of our business. So if you have one change, it will create a 1% impact in our sales. They will create also some other impact. As you know, we have a lot of operations from the Thailand, which are also denominated in Thai baht. So there may be some other impact, but we are hedged. Plus, we have kind of a natural hedge with our purchases, which are mostly performed in USD.
Okay, then as there's no more questions from the floor, thank you very much for joining us today. Don't forget to try your own recipe with our Select X After Yum. Check out our OMG meat in Macro and Tesco in March. And don't forget to take Civita supplements to better your bone. We do care about you. See you upstairs for lunch at 11:45. The floor is on 24th floor. Any further questions to our executive, please feel free to approach. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.